Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, Team Mosso at the1916company.com for purchase pricing and availability questions concerning this watch. Today, we're discussing the original version of the FP Journe Chronograph Monopoussoir Rattrapante. This is a model that was launched in 2018 and later continued in production, albeit without the rubber bumpers you see on the case and the bracelet. So my impression was that the rubber bumpers were in place from 2018 through about mid-2019. Journe quotes 2018 through 2020, but everyone agrees it was a short period, and these are now at a premium as collectibles because there are fewer of them and they're not making any more. So this is the titanium version, which is, in my opinion, the most versatile of the Monopoussoir line. There is also precious metal available, but A, those are not loomed, and B, they're a little bit more vulnerable in precious metal. So let's take a look at what we've got right here. This is part of the 44mm generation of FP Journe sports watches, and it's also made of titanium, so we have this anthracite coating on the titanium itself. Though the watch is 44mm in diameter, it is actually not that big in profile, where it's only 12.2mm thick. That is the lower end of the range for automatic winding Daytonas, so it's only about as thick as a Daytona. Now, if we measure the end link on one side to the end link on the opposite side, the total distance across the wrist is 53.9mm. You will wonder, a watch with an aluminum movement, an aluminum dial, and all titanium external construction, what does it weigh with every link in the bracelet? Well, the answer is the mass, not the weight, but the mass, is 72.67 grams, will be even lower when you remove links to size this down. So very impressive, almost toy-like. If you want that sensation with your luxury watch, you're going to get it here. I would also say that because it is so light, if your wrist is borderline in size for one of these 44s, get the titanium. It's going to wear more easily, and it's going to bridge that gap to make it possible. So for me, 44 is a lot to wear, but in titanium, it's so light and it's so flat. It fits under a cuff. It wears easily on my wrist. My wrist is 16 centimeters in circumference, and I think this would look and feel just fine on a wrist as small as 15 centimeters circumference. So, rubber bumpers, what about them? Well, for years, they were included on Journe sports watches. In fact, from 2011, when the first sports watches bowed, to, depending on who you believe, 2019 or 2020. But I always thought that they did a great job preserving finish. So they're on the side of the case. You could see rubber wrapping on the crown. We have these guards on the links of the bracelet. And then we have this little sheath on the clasp. I like them, and I think they do their job well. They prevent the metal from getting disfigured. The bracelet's a lovely piece. Now, it's not designed to be as solid as a Rolex or Omega or even Chopard Alpine Eagle bracelet. The idea here is to have a very loose strap-like feel. Lace-like is the idea, and it's very comfortable. It also does not pinch skin, pull hair, and it vents wrists beautifully. Removable links, as you can see, are fixed by screws. Then we've got a friction-fit double-fold clasp. You can see the spring-loaded steel ball-bearing pin snaps, and they do keep it closed pretty effectively. Then there is a micro adjustment that's built into this clasp. That's a fact that is not really well communicated by Journe, but it's in there. Rolling around to the case, we have a profile with rectangular pushers. It may look like a conventional twin pusher chrono, but remember, this is a split second. So what we actually have down at the 4 o'clock station is the split second trigger. If you stop the chrono entirely, it's like a mono pusher, and that now you can't resume, you have to reset and then resume. So it is a mono pusher split second chronograph that allows you to get the splits between two concurrent events like runners around a track or cars around a course. Lots of fun to play with. 2 column wheels. Because of the split second facet of the movement, you need a column wheel for each pusher. So you can see there's 2 column wheels in action on this case back. The dial is made of aluminum, and you can see it's all matte anti-glare. My favorite feature, aside from the fact that it is loomed, is the fact that the numerals themselves are actually blocks of loom. They're not printed features. They are 3-dimensional applique. We'll turn the light out for a minute, take a look at the dial, and as you can see, no shortage of loom. You can even tell due to the font and the shape of the hand that it is a Journe watch even in the dark. What I like about this is that it continues a feature from the previous aluminum and titanium 42mm sports watches, where you can see through these smoked sapphires on the dial and actually view the movement underneath. That's not true on the platinum and rose gold versions of this watch, so Advantage titanium Also important, the fact that we do have a date now on a Journe chronograph from the phase out of the octachronograph to the arrival of the Monopoussoir. There was not a Journe chrono with a date, and we've actually got one right here using a lovely, very serify font, and there is a quick set for it. There's no hacking, but then again, Journe has determined that you don't need it because you're only going to be timing precisely using the chronograph, he reasons, and the chronograph can always be reset and restarted. That's his reasoning. There's a tachymetric scale-out board which can be used with the chronograph to gauge the speed of an object. You start the chronograph when your car or your runner starts the course, and if you're good with mental decimals, you can use human beings, but we're going to use big numbers here. So when the course finishes the kilometer, you stop the chrono, you look at the tachymetric scale adjacent, you can see that car's going 300 kilometers per hour. That's how that works. Turning it all over now. On the back, we have the aluminum version of the caliber for the Monopoussoir, which is 15 for its size in French lean, and that is huge in millimeters, and then 18 the year the movement entered service. Now, it's all aluminum on the titanium version of the watch. If you were to buy the precious metal version in rose gold or platinum, then you get the solid gold version of the movement. I actually prefer the aluminum because it is unique to this model and very consistent with the minimal weighting. It's a 3 hertz beat rate, lateral clutch, actually an oscillating pinion style lateral clutch, more on that in a moment, but twin column wheel with a oscillating pinion, 3 hertz beat rate, free sprung balance for stability against shock and precise adjustment, and then the movement itself pivoting on 29 joules. And we'll talk a little bit about that oscillating pinion at center. So an oscillating pinion is a very low play or minimal play type of lateral clutch. So this is something Journe first used on the movement he created for Cartier for the Tour 2 Monopoussoir in the late 90s. And an oscillating pinion is a type of lateral clutch that gives you almost no play when you activate and start. There isn't the big jump you get with a conventional lateral clutch, so that's why it's used here. But a lateral clutch is also beautiful, more so than a vertical clutch. So Journe preserves the beauty of a lateral clutch, but the minimal play and seamless engagement of the oscillating pinion. Now, I mentioned a moment ago that this is a very big movement, and indeed it is. It's 33.6 millimeters in diameter, so it properly fills out this case. And the finishing on Journe watches in the modern era is actually quite good. The early days of the brand could be quite crude, but today it is probably even a little bit better than AP. We're not quite at Vacheron and Patek levels, but this is more than holding its own with one member of the Holy Trinity, Jaeger-LeCoultre, the higher-end Zenith Glashütte Original pieces. This is very credible, and you will be pleased, and it is worth looping. Column wheel feel for either the secondary or the primary is exemplary. You won't be disappointed. And while it is a sporty watch, it's 30 meters water resistant with a push-down crown, so I would not recommend you swim with it. One more cool fact, this ceramic bezel insert, I believe, is the only ceramic piece on any non-elegant Journe model. So reach out to Team Mosso at the 1916company.com for purchase and pricing details.